Those who stand for nothing fall for everything. Quote by Alexander Hamilton. When I was invited today to speak here at the Day of Calm convention, I understood what it meant and how it relates to the principle by which I live my life. I have made it my goal to live a purposeful life filled with hope, peace, joy, and prosperity, so that I could make a difference, beginning with myself, my family, and within my community. Precisely as the Day of Calm Foundation has chosen to make a difference in a world where gun violence is tearing families apart and the senseless shooting is causing division within our nation. The Day of Calm Foundation is choosing to stand for peace, justice, and equality in hope to bring an end to the needless suffering against children, fostering mental health and tranquility in hope of providing peace to a world that is struggling with anxiety, stress, and cruelty. The mind is the most powerful tools that we have at our disposal, and each and every human being has within the capacity to choose. This is our agency to decide how we go about the decisions that we make in life. It has been truly a blessing of mine to have learned this lesson from a very early age in my life. Lesson that didn't come easy. Lesson that in the moment felt like the end of the world for me. Lesson in the moment when I was learning, it felt like I had nothing to live for except just to die of pain, suffering, and misery. Nevertheless, lesson that will now guide my decisions in life. One of the most powerful things about the mind is that we condition our conscious and subconscious mind in accepting the things that we see to be true and the things that we see to be false. In other words, the two most powerful emotions known to men, the emotions of love and the emotion of fear. These are the two most powerful emotions known to men, and the only emotions that we truly have. Out of these two emotions, one is changeless. The other is forever changing, because its form is different for every individual, and that is the emotion of fear. It stands in the way and prevents us from where we want to go. Yet, it also acts as a protector for us. In essence, it is both good and bad. So I've learned over the years that my fears are designed so that I can evaluate myself, self-evaluate the decisions of my life, the choices that I'm making, the passion that I have within me that I desire and hope to pursue in life. When I consult my fear about my passion, I have one question to ask myself. Do I have the patience so that I can truly persist through each and every obstacle that come my way along this journey? Understanding that having patience is not enough. One must have the will to persevere. Why if I have passion and I have patience, but I don't have the courage? Courage then becomes the gateway of letting go of our fear, in mastering the act of love. I was born in chaos, in a family that struggled for a living. My father was a practicing Muslim and a polygamist. This left me with 3 stepmothers and 6 stepbrothers within an environment that I've never known, that I was just introduced to. While the first 6 years was spent with my grandmother in her care, nurturing me and taking care of me in every way that she could, because my mother was a single mother of 4 by 3 separate fathers. She did her best as she could, so that we can have the best in our lives. My relationship with my father was definitely met with challenges because of our conflicting beliefs. My father's desire for me was to be a practicing Muslim. That was not the goal that I saw for myself. I chose not to conform to the life that was chosen before me because they simply didn't advance me towards the desires of my heart, my passion that burned within me. I would have been limiting myself to the circumstances I found myself in had I gone with the choices that my fathers were making for me. I would not be here at this very moment, but instead I chose to look fear in the eyes and defy my father for the choices that he was making for me that would have impacted my life and also that of the life of my family. In that moment, I was fearful of the consequences of my actions and the reaction of my father and my family, as they all deemed me self-centered because I chose not to conform. The question is, how do you let go of something that you do not see? How do you let go of something that you do not hear? How do you let go of certainty for uncertainty? And this is where the power of our fear is risen higher than the power of our love in the decisions that we're making that will benefit us, and in return it benefits so many more, starting with our immediate family. As a child, I wanted so much more a united family and a relationship with my parents. I wanted to grow up in a house where I saw my mom and dad together as one. I wanted to grow up in a household where love was being taught, but that wasn't the circumstances that I was born into. I had a choice to accept this, or I could create my own path towards the life that I truly desire. Our parents truly are the foundation upon which we first come into this world. And family throughout our lives has created a path that we can learn from. It is both the responsibility of our parents and us now, the children, to work in unison in letting go of negative thought patterns, replacing them with a more hopeful and positive ones. To go further, let me tell you a personal story. At 6 years old, I stole from my grandmother. It wasn't my first time, but it was the first time I was caught stealing. I returned from playing outside. Assuming that my grandmother was asleep, I proceeded to eat her food, which absolutely did not belong to me. My grandmother opened her eyes and gave me a piercing look of disappointment that I would never forget. To go along with that, she gave me a whooping on the ass that I absolutely deserve, and I would not change anything about it. Upon completion of this disciplinary action that my grandmother gave me, she taught me the most valuable lesson in life that has guided my decision, my dealings in life to this day. She said to me that honesty is not for others, that honesty is a reflection of our character. In other words, the worst lies are the ones that we tell ourselves. Now, take a moment and listen to this very powerful message. A message, when understood and action is taken, can immediately begin to change the course of your life towards the fulfillment of life as you imagine. A message, when fully understood, can change not only your life, but also the life of so many more who you cross paths with. A message, when understood, will immediately make you a light amongst those who are desiring of it. A message, when understood, will bring peace where there is suffering, love where there is hate, and light where there is darkness. My grandmother knew that in that moment it was necessary to discipline me in a way that I would remember, but also to show me love in a way that I would appreciate. And then followed by that, courage to look fear in the eyes and walk right through it. It was the teaching of my grandmother that gave me the courage to stand up to my father at 13 years old and tell him that I wanted a path different from him. It was the teaching of my grandmother that gave me the courage to consistently and persistently choose the path that I'm walking, knowing that the person that I can be honest with the most is myself. Understanding that my honesty in dealing with my father, if it didn't benefit me, will be my downfall. Because I'm not here today if I'm not honest with myself. The emotions that I have within myself are the emotions that I must be honest with. Am I having a sad emotion from the decisions that I'm making? Am I having anxiety and stress over my decisions? Do I feel and believe that I'm living someone else's life and this life isn't mine? How can I carry on someone else's life, someone else's goal, when I haven't yet discovered my own path? That is the message that my grandmother was teaching me at 6 years old. Though at this point I did not understand. I didn't understand what it meant. None did I even comprehend. As a matter of fact, I was angry at my grandmother for this discipline. I didn't understand my part, the part that I played that caused her to discipline me in the way that she did. Later, as I grew into an adult, I started to put the pieces together. But it all started to make sense when I lost my grandmother after she left me in the custody of my father, which wasn't her first choice, and it certainly wasn't my first choice either. But that is an example when life is being taken away from you against your will, against your decision. It was the hope of my grandmother, after first meeting my father at 6 years old for the first time, that I would meet my father, although the circumstances weren't ideal because we were running away during the Civil War, that it would be necessary to spend some time and see my father before continuing on our journey to my mother. This didn't happen for me. As I went to say goodbye to my father, ironically, the goodbye was for my grandmother, because it was at that moment that I watched my grandmother leave in utter despair and disappointment. And if I have one regret in my life, it is the regret that I was in a situation where I thought I was making the right decision by saying goodbye to my father so that I can remain with my grandmother. Instead, it was my grandmother who got overpowered by my father's strong character and will. Now, would I change anything about the past? If I had to go back and relearn and make this decision, would I do anything different? The answer is no. Because even that moment was a lesson being taught. The lesson that I've learned in that moment was that the man that I am today needed to be trained. The person that I am today, the character that I am, needed to be cultivated within myself. I needed to know the difference between night and day, peace and suffering, love and hate, light and darkness. I learned all these lessons during my 6 years with my father. So how can I change anything about it? Through these lessons, I have overcome hate within my own family, and I've gone through my life with a burning desire of building bridges over past hurts. A division that was created within my family between my father and I, especially, that left us not speaking for 18 years. So when I reflect on my life in those moments, I understood that no matter what I do in my life, how much I accomplish in life, it means nothing if I do not have the love of my family. In the words of Rod Stewart, we go through life wondering what it's all about. And at the end of the day, it is all about family. I wholeheartedly believe in this saying because it is the principle by which I've lived my life. A united family creates love, because love is absent without the presence of family, and family does not exist without the presence of love. My hope in sharing this message with you today is that we, as the children who have had the opportunity to learn a little bit more lessons than our parents did, that we can find it within ourselves to forgive our parents for past hurts. Because even they are overcoming their own past trauma, just like we are. And it's only through the courage of looking through your fear and passing through every obstacle in your life that we are able to look our parents and those who have hurt us in the past and let them know that we forgive them for the hurt they caused in our life. And going further with that, it is also our responsibility to acknowledge our part in the rift. Because I understood that the rift between me and my father was caused by not only him, but also my different creed. I understood that I was different and I wanted something different than that of my father. Decision for me. So why would I blame him for the lack of understanding of the desire that it built within my mind that he had no knowledge of? I had a picture in my mind that my father didn't know, a vision that only I could see from where I stood. If he didn't understand it and no one around me understood, it was up to me to seek out the direction that I would take and the things that I needed to do to get me there. In the process, I chose and I made a decision never to forget the reason for which I am pursuing this goal. Growing up in poverty didn't make me happy. Growing up in a village, not having anything except manual labor to fend out for ourselves each and every day didn't make me happy. Having 3 stepmothers and stepbrothers and being the outcast in my family did not make me happy. But each and every day I heard of God and how He is peace, how He is love, how He is mercy. And I looked in my environment. My physical environment demonstrated none of these things. To me, as a young child, at 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, and as I was going through, until I hit this tragic day in my life when I lost my mother at 13 years old. This changed everything for me. Every fear that I had disappeared. Every fear that I have of my father disappeared. Because at this point, I have lost the 2 most important people in my life, my mother and my grandmother. The 2 people who gave me the courage to keep fighting. And now that I lost these 2 people in my life that I call the joy of my life, the centerpiece to my existence, what purpose was I living for? What decision would I make? So when my father decided that I would go to the funeral of my mother, that was the day my father decided to give me my freedom. My freedom to choose. Because in my imagination, the life that I created was a life that brought me to the city, was a life that brought me education in the way of reading and writing in English, was a life that brought me peace and prosperity because I followed through to learn a new way in life that will bring about light, peace and prosperity towards the life that I yet don't understand. So the funeral is over and my father is leaving. This was the last day that I would see my father also. And this was the last time that I would speak to him until 18 years. My father was leaving and I chose to tell him that I was not leaving. A moment that felt like a lifetime lasted only for a minute. But to me, it felt like a lifetime. Standing on those stairs of my uncle's house, who is now my father by way of adoption. Telling my father no, that I did not want to return to the village because there was a life that I didn't understand, yet it was certain. There was the life that I really didn't know and it wasn't mine, yet it was certain. And here I am making a choice for a life I don't even know, for a life I've barely even touched. But in my mind, in my heart, I had a joy, I had a peace of mind that this was the life that I wanted. So in this moment, letting go of certainty for uncertainty was the decision that has brought me to this moment. Even in this very moment as you listen to this message, you are struggling with your own personal decision. Deciding what to do, wondering if the environment that you're in now is best for you. Deciding if the physical environment have an impact on you. Answers that you already have within yourself. And they need your courage so that you can make the decision that first benefits you. Because Selflessness is only as good as the person who is performing the act of service. If I am performing a service that benefits me nothing, leave me with pain and anxiety and stress, what good am I making truly? Am I truly being the change that I wish to see in the world? Am I truly being authentic within myself? I encourage you to adapt to your environment. I encourage you to look within yourself, take courage, and make the decision for the life that you always wanted to live. Pursue this relentlessly, and I promise you, you will find that success will be at your feet. You will become the light in the room that you are in. And everywhere that you go, people will acknowledge you. Your presence will radiate further, wider than you can possibly imagine. Because when you are complete within yourself, you have now mastered yourself and you have abandoned fear. And when fear comes to you and questions your decision, fear will be met with a laughter. Because at the end of the day, fear will always be there to accompany us in our decision making, checking to see our commitment to the choices that we're making. Are we truly committed to this choice that we're making? And are we willing to follow through no matter the obstacle that comes in our way? Do not allow temporary defeat and setback to stand in the way of a lasting peace that will be yours by mastering the act of love through loving fearlessly and living fully. As Earl Nightingale stated, we become what we think about. So ask yourself the question, what are the dominating thoughts of your mind? Is the negative or the negative thoughts of your mind outweighing the positive? If so, the simple solution is to reverse. Because our mind is made up of two parts, the subconscious and the conscious mind. Research shows that the subconscious mind is made up of 90% of the brain, and only 10% of it is conscious. We, through our thinking, condition the mind. Through our thinking, condition the mind to accept what we want in our life. And whatsoever we think, we become. Whatsoever we desire, we will receive. So if you wake up in the morning and your thoughts are negative, I challenge you to think the alternative. And to the parents, to our parents, to my parents, as I've always stated, understand that your job and your responsibilities are to teach your children the best way you know how. And if your lesson isn't getting across to your children, for whatever reason, understand that they have a mind of their own. And that in this mind, they are trying to figure themselves out. Guide them the best way you know how. Love them unconditionally because you desire good for them. And as we love endlessly, continuously, we undoubtedly eliminate hate and love wins. It's a two-way streak for parents to acknowledge their errors in the way of raising their kids, and for children, to acknowledge their mistakes in how they treated their parents. I am of the blessing to have not had a home. I am of the blessing to have not grew up with my father and my mother in the same household. And I made it my life's work and my commitment that whatsoever love I will give to my mother and my biological father, I will do the same for the people who raised me along my journey. Because there have been many people, and there are many people who are responsible for my journey in life. And those people are all my parents. I appreciate each and every moment. especially the moments that I consider to be the bad moments, because those were the moments that my characters were built. Characters are not built through our happy moments. You do not discover yourself only when things are going right. The true character of a man and a woman is tested and proven through adversity, which is why when we have perseverance, the courage to go and walk through fears, we become comfortable in who we are. The learning outcome of letting go of our fears are simple. When we let go of our fear, we become whole. We become present and content with the present moment. When we let go of our fear, we truly understand the meaning of contentment. We understand that contentment isn't about the things that we have, isn't about our ambitions at all in how rich we become, but our contentment of the present moment, because it is truly the one guarantee that we have to this life. When we let go of our fear, we live fully in the moment and we love fearlessly within it, no matter what. When we let go of our fear, we turn out the noise, especially the negative one, that will build and develop negative patterns. When we let go of our fear, we live a life full of hope, peace, joy, and prosperity, and popular opinions become less of our concern. When we let go of our fear, we know the difference between good and evil. When we let go of our fear, we understand right versus wrong thinking. Our fear is in a way to guide us towards the desires of our heart, not to deter us from it. Our thoughts and reaction to the things that happen to us, however, would undoubtedly be the results of who we become. So I encourage you today to choose to be the light. Choose to be the person of courage. Choose to be the person of peace that walk in a way of righteousness, because you choose that within you there is calm. Within you there is peace. So when I accepted the invitation to speak here today, I understood that calmness cannot be accomplished without peace. And peace cannot be accomplished without forgiveness. And forgiveness cannot be accomplished without acknowledgement of our wrong and right doing. And right and wrong doing cannot be accomplished without first the acceptance of the present, past, and the future that we desire. Folks, from the bottom of my heart, it is my hope that we will become the change we wish to see in others. Phrases stated so many times throughout our lives. I do not proclaim myself a master of this thinking. I understand I don't yet know the things that are before me, but I know what is right now in this present moment. The moments could be difficult, they could be happy, but each and every moment do pass. Muhammad Ali, a legendary boxer, was once asked the question, what was his favorite part about training? He stated that he hated every part of it, but he told himself, don't quit. Suffer now and be a champion for the rest of your life. My struggle early on in my life has created now the peace that I enjoy and can hopefully continue to share with as many people as I can. Be the champion of your life. Be the champion of your family so that they too can become the champion of your life. In closing, every morning when I wake up, I looked into the mirror and I asked myself the question, what does the man in the mirror truly want? Not the physical mirror, but the mental, spiritual, and emotional mirrors that is within his head, his mind, that nobody else will see. In this mirror, he's powerful, he's good, and everything around him is good because he's good. In this mirror, he's understand that he does not have to be good for someone else's good, but for his own good. He understands that if his good is good enough, then everything that he touches and everybody around him will be benefactor of it. And in return, he benefits. You're probably asking yourself the question right now, who am I? You're asking yourself the question, why is this happening to you? That you will find that there's lesson in every moment. And life is filled with joy. I love you from the bottom of my heart. It is my hope and joy that we will love fearlessly and live fully in everything and all things that we do. Understanding that the life that you want begins with you, not anyone else. You are the master, the architect of your life. Take control of it. Stop blaming your co-worker. It is the easier thing to do to blame my boss for the things that he's done to anger me. It is the easier thing to do to blame our parents for how they treated us. It is the easiest thing to do for our parents to blame us for how disobedient we are. The hardest thing to do is to look in the mirror and see our part in all of it. I look into that mirror every day and I understand that my life were a result of the choices that I've made. And I will make them again, understanding that I have the patience and the courage to persevere through all of it. I love you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I hope this has been uplifting for you. And it's my hope that I will live each and every day working tirelessly to live the life that I desire to live. Thank you. I love you.